Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. With me, I have Chip Kandrak. I'll get it right. Chip Kandrak with Gateway Mortgage. Chip is a reverse mortgage specialist. Now, we're going to get into another area of reverse mortgages real quick. And this has to do, again, with the interest rates that you would pay, how that compares, again, with a regular mortgage. Another area that people sometimes look at is just setting up an equity line. So a home equity line of credit, HELOC. This is where you get a loan from the bank. It's normally, I will say, you can get a fixed rate, but you usually see these as being adjustable. They're going to be based on whatever the prime rate is, plus a little bit. But the money it's more of a credit line, so it's there. You can access it when you want. You can pay it when you want. In terms of whether you carry it for a little while or pay it off as quickly as you like. The difference with these are understanding when you're taking a traditional mortgage, and this is one of the reasons people look at reverse mortgages, is there are no payments. Okay, there's still interest being charged, but no payments. When you take out a traditional mortgage or you take out a home equity line of credit, once you access those funds, you now have to have that monthly payment going back, of course, to the institution with the goal of eventually paying it off. With the reverse mortgage, Chip, of course, people are accessing funds with the goal being that now that which is one of the reasons they're not able to access as much, of course, because they are never going to, or never have to at least, pay off that mortgage. They can, as long as if they take out 50 or 60% on that loan, they get that money. There's going to be interest accumulating, adding to the amount of the mortgage, but they're not making any payments. All they're taking care of is property taxes and insurance. So let's go into, with that accumulation, what is the interest rate that they're going to be paying? And you mentioned there's, I believe, two options. They can do a fixed option, and the rules, again, have changed here versus fixed versus adjustable in terms not only of how that works payment-wise, but also accessing funds.
Folks who are over 62, a lot of them are averse to adjustable rates, and rightly so.
Okay.
So we still have a fixed rate mortgage program. The difference now is that it's a lot less generous with money. We talked before about having access to about 52% of the equity in your home. Well, if you take a fixed rate mortgage, it's more like 25%. You only get a portion of what the equity is. And they fix that. They fix the interest rate, and the interest rate is right now between 4.1 and 4.99, somewhere in there. So you can pick a rate, pick your rate that you want to.
So on if you're looking at FHA, because of and understanding the way this works, if you're 62 years old, all right, understand mortality rates and how that part of it works. For an average couple age 65 as an example, mortality rates would put, I think for the man it's around the life expectation is to about 82, 83. For the woman it's about 85 to 87, I think. So one of the things that we're looking at when you're looking at mortality tables, this plays into so many things, including something like a reverse mortgage. People are living longer. What did I just say again? Keep this is real important to understand this. For a couple age 65, all right, man, woman 65. And by the way, couples I mentioned because married people tend to live longer than single people. Okay, I'll leave it to you as to why that may be, but married people tend to live longer. So for that couple, age 65, woman mid-80s, man in his early 80s, that would be the average life expectancy. What does that mean? Okay, that means that half the people die before then and half the people live beyond that. So if you're calculating out annuity payments for life, all right, and the same thing on a reverse mortgage. If you're 62 and they're trying to figure out, well, they're going to be on the hook paying you this money and not being able to collect anything and not being able to receive any payments, and you could live 30 or 40 years beyond that point, then that's going to be one of the reasons they're going to limit how much they're going to let you have then in terms of access to that equity. Now, understanding, of course, you can always sell the house at any point and pay it off. Okay, or if you had sufficient income, you can always go out and do a refi at some point if this thing wasn't working out. So there are some different still options, but again, understand before you get into it because of the other costs. So we talked about closing costs. You can only access about half as much if you take a fixed mortgage.
Correct.
And in today's environment, the fixed mortgage rate isn't as attractive, certainly.
Correct.
So now let's talk about the adjustable rate. What's the adjustable rate?
So we used to have, up until recently, we only had the 1 month LIBOR. It was an adjustable rate that was adjustable every month. And that's been stable. You know, LIBOR's been stable for the last 20 years. So it's been a stable index, stable rate. Hasn't been any problems. Well, once again, because of that adjustable rate aversion, they created a fixed rate. So we have now a fixed LIBOR. It's a 1 year fixed LIBOR. So it's based on LIBOR, but when you originate the loan, you fix that rate at whatever it is when you close the loan. So it's fixed for a year at that rate. At the end of the year, it could go up, it could go down. It doesn't have to go up, and it doesn't always go up, but
In
it
today's
might.
interest environment, it's more likely to go
More
up.
likely now than the last couple of years.
What's the rate going in?
Right now, the rate is under 3.
Under 3.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go, and let's say in terms of how much can it go up in any given year?
There's not a requirement in any given year, but the maximum cap is 8%. So it's 5 points above the starting rate. So if you start at 3%, it's about 8%.
So it can go up as much as 5% total. It's going to be based on LIBOR, and it's going to be based on a set percentage over LIBOR of how much
That's
that
correct.
increases, or how much it can most be.
That's correct.
And so that fixed rate that cannot change. The fixed part above LIBOR, in other words.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So once that's locked in, we know that whatever LIBOR is going to go up, that little bit, just like a
That's
prime
called
rate.
the margin, the
goes-
difference. You
right.
have the rate and then the margin.
And what's the margin?
And the margin varies too. You pick that on the front end. It could be anything from, 2 points to 3 points, somewhere in there, whatever. Because what happens is the higher the margin, you can play with the kind of money you'll have access to. The margin sometimes indicates how much money you have access to.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got a caller, and this is who? All right, James, welcome to the Retirement Report.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. How
Great.
about you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. How can we help this morning?
Well, I've already retired. I've got a pretty good retirement check, and I was wanting to see about taking some of my money out of my 401 and just pay off my mortgage.
Right.
And I was thinking on the way it's amortized now, it's roughly should be paid off to 2022. So I could actually save myself about $10,000
Okay.
if I just took $48,000, paid it off, and instead of paying about $60,000, if I paid month per month till 2022.
Sure.
And I was wanting to see if you thought that might be a good idea.
Well, here's the thing you're going to run into, James, is there's a trade-off when you take that $48,000 out. You mentioned you have a good income already. So if you take $48,000 out of your 401k, out of a retirement account, that $48,000 is going to be fully taxable to you. So this is a traditional amount as opposed to a Roth, I'm guessing from your what you've said. So if I'm going to have to pay tax on it, that 48 is going to get added to my income, and depending on how much that income is, that could put that's going to push me up into a 25% bracket. So that 48,000, I'm going to have to pay 25% tax. All of a sudden, I got 12,000 going out. I haven't saved any, so I'm paying 12,000 in taxes to the government against saving 10,000 in interest on the mortgage. It may not work out. It also depends. When you have to start at age 70 and a half, you'll have to start taking required minimum distributions. So depending on how much, if we can do that in such a way that you can stay in a 15% bracket, well, there's that might save you $4,000 or $5,000, almost $5,000 on what we were just talking about if you pulled out that 48. So there may be a way to access it to where you pay it off faster, still save on interest, but without incurring that big tax bill. Oh, there you go. So one of the things you want to look at, James, is this. It's something that I would do an analysis with. I would run it both ways. When I do planning for clients, and we're looking at both the tax impact of their decisions as well as what it is we're trying to accomplish as far as either saving interest or gains on stocks, whatever it may be. All right, so in your situation, what I'm thinking is that there may be a better way to go about it to where we can accomplish both goals. Pay off the house faster, reduce the amount of interest paid out, but at the same time do it in such a way that maybe we stretch it out over 2 or 3 years and pay less tax so that you end up with the most money in your pocket that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, yes.
All right, you want to find out more. If you want to do an analysis with me, I can go through that with you. Just be one of the callers to my office this morning. We'll put the number back on the screen, and then I could be more detailed about it. I just need to see your total numbers to see what your tax situation is, as well as that mortgage in the 401k, because your earnings. There's a lot of different factors there. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll get that up. There's the number on the screen. Thanks for the call. You have a good day. All right, 615-376-5325 for the first 10 callers. That's, again, the kind of things we look at. It's the same with Roth conversions. Is it a good idea? Is it not a good idea? We won't know without doing an analysis of your given situation. We find that there are ways. I just worked with a client. In fact, I'll tell you the story when we come back from the break. Of a client I just worked with, we found a way that we could save her. Again, $1,000 a year on taxes. This is little things that adds up. That's $1,000 in your pocket just for doing a little bit of an analysis before making a decision as to how what the best way to go is. So join us here. We're going to get into that and more on the Retirement Report.